So yesterday I uploaded reactions to after the first part of the test of the Vegas test. Obviously, there is a test later today that I might do some more on, depending on how those test sessions go, how those drafting sessions go. But I only did it on session one. There was a second drafting session and a third drafting session last night. And to basically just summarize it up into a very quick little thing, the second one was better than the first one slightly. The inside lane worked a little better. I didn't get to see it live. I did watch some replay of Jeff Gluck's periscopes of it though. And test number three had its moments, but towards the end it did get a little spread out single file. Kyle Busch, it seemed like, was the best car there and wasn't able to be passed, but did was within touch of Clint Boyer at the end of that. Brad Keselowski also dominated that session early on. But so this thing is going to be about the drivers' reactions and more stuff like that. So the drivers did say some stuff about, whether it be the end of all three sessions or the end of the first session, whatever. Some drivers did say some stuff about it. One of them being two of them being the Busch brothers, Kurt and Kyle Busch. Kurt Busch said it reminded him a lot of Daytona and Talladega draft style, as in the first session he actually lost the draft, and by the time he was, by the time the session was over, he's already about half a lap behind those drivers that were running in the draft. So Kurt Busch losing the draft did not help him at all, and that scares me a little bit about this package, because just think like under green flag pit stop, right? If you're running long enough to do that with the stage racing that they have. If you're running, and you get to a green flag pit stop, if your crew makes one small mistake and you're like a second off, so say like people are putting down 13-second pit stops, 12-second pit stops. So let's just say the norm is going to be like a 12-second pit stop, right? And your crew puts down a 13-second pit stop because they were just a little slow getting the lug nuts off, right? What happens when you fall a second behind? Do you just like lose that draft and then you're done for the race? I mean, like, that's basically what Kurt Busch just said right there, was I lost the draft and I could never get it back because it's so powerful, and I just fell off and I was never seen again. Like no one ever saw him again. I mean, I saw Kurt Busch at the beginning of that session and it dwindled down to a 13 car pack, even less than that, because he just couldn't hold on to it, and that's not good. Kyle Busch was the most outspoken driver though against the package, as he basically said that the package. It didn't take talent, is basically what he said in a short little brief statement. He basically described it. He said it didn't take talent, it took the driver talent out of it. He was referring to the media when he said that you could jump into that race car and do what I just did because it's that easy to drive. It will be more of a skill in terms of mind game. It'll be more like a chess match rather than driver talent, which is a different type of driver talent, I guess you could say. But in my mind, it's not good, because there are driver talents out there that deserve to be shown behind the wheel and not through their mind. Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson are two examples that come to mind of drivers that have just loads of talent behind the wheel and can drive a race car fast and hard and be sideways and somehow keep it going straight. Those are just two that come to mind. There are so many more that are racing in the top series right now. Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Brad Keselowski, you name it. There are a ton of drivers out there on the track right now that are just great behind the wheel. They're great wheelmen. They can keep their cars going straight. On the edge of crashing, they keep their cars going straight, keep their cars going fast. Larson can rim ride the Walt Homestead like nobody ever has. Kyle Busch can save a race car like nobody ever has. Some of these drivers, they can do great jobs behind the wheel of a race car, and their talents are most likely going to be limited due to this package. I mean, you kind of bog that power down. You're going 100, maybe not hitting 190 miles an hour. If you are, you're barely hitting it down these straightaways, barely lifting through the corners, except for later in the run when you have to lift because there's a little bit of tire wear. But otherwise, when is that driver talent going to come into play? Maybe when you're on the inside of a driver and you get loose or tight trying to get around because of the aero. I don't know. Maybe that's when driver talent will come into play. But in my opinion, that's just not right. I feel like if you're in a racing series, driver talent should be the number one focus and priority to push forward. And right now, NASCAR is kind of going the opposite. Obviously, they want to try and make the racing better. They're trying to make the racing closer, more appealing, because their sport's been on a decline. I mean, it's something that I haven't really talked about, haven't really delved into, because so many other NASCAR YouTubers have done it about the decline of NASCAR and how it's kind of fallen in sponsorships and the TV ratings and whatnot. But it is a thing. It's not dying. It's just in its little phase where, hey, people aren't liking it. NASCAR is trying to do some damage control right now and just go to a different package and see if it could get, some just average fan to watch it more because the cars will be closer together. And that's also a thing NASCAR is doing with this package is it's installing in people's minds. I don't know if anyone thinks like this, but it's installing in people's minds that this closer type of racing is somehow better racing, because I know a lot of people keep comparing it to last year when there were some bad races, right? But last year also had some of the best races I've ever seen, performed in NASCAR's top division. Okay, I could go on about the list that I have, and I could even exclude the road course and short tracks. You go to, I mentioned it the last video, but Chicagoland is the first one that comes to mind. You go to both Kansases, they were great. That Las Vegas race was awesome. You had some of these tracks, Phoenix tracks, you name it. They were good races. Some of them were great races, some of them were basically perfect races. You had some bad races. Kentucky was obviously bad, but when has Kentucky ever been good? Las Vegas, but when has Las Vegas in spring ever been good? The answer is never. You go back to when they had the Gen 5 cars, the 2011, 2012 cars, and that's probably the best type of car we've had in a long time, and it still wasn't good. Las Vegas in March just has not been good. But like I said, you will have good races, you will have bad races. That's just a part of it. And NASCAR's trying to make every race better. And in my opinion, that's just not what they should be doing. They should be trying to, just push forward those better races. Just wait, and they should just waited until they get to this track contract, with the whole, they could add Gateway in, they could add so many different racetracks. In my opinion, if you just took a race away from Texas, a race away from Kansas, a race away from these 1.5 milers that have, 2 dates. Take away the first Las Vegas race, take away the second Texas race, one of the Kansas races. Just take away Kentucky from the schedule all in all, because really Kentucky has just provided nothing, and then add in some of those other tracks, you would be golden. But, it's just disappointing. Even though the last 2 sessions looked more promising than the first session, I can't say I'm excited for this season at all, because, and I am not, this is not, what you should think about the package. You have your own thought, everyone has their own opinion about this package, and I am not going to tell you how to think about this package. If you love this package and you are supporting it to death, and you cannot wait for the season to start, you're probably going to have a good time this season. More power to you. If you love the package and you cannot wait for the season to start, more power to you. Good for you. That's your opinion. My opinion on it is that I'm just not excited to see it in action, because I just cannot get excited for something that I feel like is more quote unquote fabricated, and kind of not determined, not predetermined, but it's just fabricated, if you know what I mean. It's not really real racing. And what I mean by that is, you go to Daytona or Talladega, it's not really racing there. That's more just craziness. And I was fine with Daytona and Talladega because it was always nice. It was spread out throughout the season. You had the first race of the season, around the 10th race of the season, halfway point of the season, and then race 28 of the season. It was spread out nicely, about 10 races in between each super speedway race. It was basically the little just I forget who said this quote, but you have too much candy, and soon you get annoyed about that candy, you get sick of that candy. The Daytona and Talladega was kind of like a candy. It was the one-off time where I was fine with it just being a complete crapshoot, and just kind of throwing everything out the window about racing, just being this is just going to be random, and that's going to be fun because it's one of 4 times this season where we get to do it. It's going to be fun. If more of these races start becoming like that, once again, you give someone too much candy, they're going to get sick of that candy. And is that possibly going to happen? I don't know. Are people going to get sick of seeing this constant, stuff like that? I don't know. But, in my opinion, I'm just not going to get excited for it, because I just don't like seeing something like that. I don't get excited seeing, them running closer together and seeing the leader who should have probably the best car there and probably has the fastest car there just be restricted, in what he can do. Being like Kyle Busch, right? They've been saying, the goal of this is to get the cars closer together, running closer together. They obviously accomplish that. But if you're like someone like Kyle Busch, right, and you're out there, you have the best car, he couldn't pull away, and he probably had the best car that session. And it's just kind of sad, when the leader of the race, the best car of the race, cannot pull away. That team prepared that car, and they prepared that car for weeks, and they did everything to it to try and make it the best car. And once you get into the race and you're in that draft, you're not getting away from that guy behind you, then something's up. That's bad, and that's not how it should be. Racing is racing. You line them up and you let them go, and whatever happens from there happens from there. Cautions in between, whatever. But once the checker flag falls, the best driver should win the race, depending on outcomes. Obviously, there are some, run out of fuel strategy, 2 tires, 4 tires, blowing a tire is some mechanical issue. But when the package itself is determining who's going to win this race, and that the best car on the track is limited to what it can do in terms of pulling away, because, when the best car is the best car, it's going to pull away. You can't fix that at 1.5 mile, 2 mile tracks. At Michigan, the only reason dirty air comes into play is when the fastest car is behind a slower car and can't get around that slower car for the lead or for a second or whatever, or at, something like Michigan or, Vegas or whatever. When the fastest car is out front, that fast car is going to pull away. You know why? Because it's the fastest car. If the fastest car putting down the fastest laps, that means the drivers behind are slower, and they're going to be falling off pace. That's just how it works. Racing shouldn't be getting that guy's draft, get around him, right, if you're the fastest car, and then he'll just get right back in your draft and just stay with you. He might not be able to make the move because he's not going to have any help to make the move. He'll just stay with you, though, and you're going to have to worry about him for the next, 50 laps or however long you're going to run. So, in my opinion, I don't like that, but whatever. That's going to be how it is this season, I guess. And one final note is that Kyle Busch also said about this package, it reminds him a lot of the Truck Series package. When you're back in the pack, you can make a lot of moves through the field, probably because the air back there, everyone's kind of getting that dirty air, and you're getting the draft off of other guys as well because you're back around other people, so you're able to make moves easy around there. But he said once you get to second, it's just like in the Truck Series. You get to second, you get to that leader, and you cannot pass him, because that leader still has some clean air on that nose, even though there are those aero ducts and whatever. It's trying to make the leader not have that clean air. Clean air is always going to be clean air no matter what package you bring. You can bring the best package, there's still going to be clean air. Clean air is clean air is clean air. That's all I'm going to say. Clean air is clean air no matter what package you use. There's always going to be clean air for that driver out in front. And once again, Kyle Busch is stating that that guy out front has clean air. You get to him, unless you have some super run, you're not getting past him unless you can try and figure out how to use that draft right or whatever. So unless, if you know the draft like Dale Earnhardt, then you're going to be able to get around. But otherwise, you're going to have to try and work that draft. You're going to try and find the runs. But otherwise, you're probably just going to be riding around the guy. And then after some of the comments that the drivers made, there were some really bad comments. There were some good comments. The good comments mostly from underfunded, back marker guys. But after the comments, the NASCAR, let me see what his title is. NASCAR's Vice President for Innovation and Racing Development, John Probst, basically was talking about, he got asked about how the package went. He said, we still have some work to do. We still have some changes to make. We can, make those changes now after seeing this. And then when asked about the criticism of the package, referring to Kyle Busch, he said that he hopes the package is judged on the quality of racing it produces and not how that racing is produced, which is the opposite of how I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at the quality of the racing it produces. If it produces 3 wide and 4 wide moments during a race, that's fine by me, but it's not really real racing, in quotation marks. He basically said in his quote, "These drivers, some are going to love it, some are going to hate it, no matter what we race. I was just encouraging fans who are on the fence to give it a try. I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised at what they see at the racetrack." He then went on to say, "For the drivers we know who don't like it, they are very good at what they do and get paid a really good chunk of money to do things that take a lot of talent. If they want to spout off about this racing not needing a whole lot of talent, then eventually that will hit them in the pocketbook too. they should be careful. So basically, what the vice president of racing and innovation is saying to these drivers is, so you keep talking about the package and you keep saying that it's negative and you just keep talking bad things about this package, and your wallet's going to be getting hit by some fines. So he's basically threatening the drivers that say something bad about the package and you'll have a little less money tomorrow, which is ridiculous and pretty stupid that he is now threatening drivers and censoring them on what they can say, which is ridiculous and pretty childish. But this is not the first time we've ever seen this with NASCAR. Back in 2013, when the Gen 6 was first introduced, Phoenix was its first downforce race after Daytona. And after the race, Denny Hamlin was asked about how the Gen 6 drove. Without looking up the quote, just as a little, brief summary, he basically said, the Gen 6, it worked pretty well. It still has a little bit of work to do. It's still a little work in progress, but it's getting there. It's pretty good. It could be a little better, but it's still work in progress. They'll definitely, work on that. And they'll fix it out, and it'll get better. And later in the week, NASCAR fined him for, I think it was, quote-unquote, actions detrimental to stock car auto racing, even though Hamlin literally said it's a work in progress. He didn't say that was the finished thing and that it sucked. He basically said it was good, it can still be worked on, and it is still being worked on, and it'll get better as it comes. Hamlin was fined due to that. So what's going to happen when a driver says, something that they don't like about this package? Are they going to get fined for that, for actions detrimental to stock car auto racing? That's the best, fine thing, and the best in terms of the worst. It's the best one because it just makes me laugh that someone says is actions detrimental to stock car auto racing. So, I don't know. But so that's my reaction part 2 to this Vegas test. If anything comes today about the test, anything, better in these, I think there's 2 drafting sessions, then I'll make another video. Otherwise, that's basically it until the season starts. I might do some, I might try and predict some things about the 2019 season and see if they come true later on after the season is over. But, yeah, NASCAR 2019 draft package, we've seen it with 14 cars in action. We'll have to see it with 40 cars in action. And I'll really just be looking after the first Las Vegas race to see how it is, because I don't really think Atlanta is going to be a big indicator either, because the tire wear is so much there. But, yeah, so according to Kyle Busch, driver skill is out of it. What do you think? Do you like it? Do you like the package? Or are you with Kyle Busch, or are you with me, where you're saying, even though it's closer together and it's good racing, and that's kind of the illusion NASCAR is trying to make, and it's kind of taken some of the old school NASCAR stuff away. So just tell me what you think in the comments. Otherwise, I'll see you guys for the next video.